Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education.
What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job?
Be like everybody else.
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher.
You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you.
You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess?
What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
The following program was provided by an independent producer, solely responsible for its content. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this program series are solely those of the host and guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Brainstorm, bringing great minds and ideas together, exploring a wide variety of opportunities, achieving academic excellence, using the latest technology, government's impact, preparing for 21st century careers, parenting and health issues, topics shaping tomorrow. Brainstorm with Lisa Willever, bringing great minds and ideas together.
Hi, welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Willever, and today we're talking about how to train your government, or how to be a better constituent. Before we begin, let's learn a little bit more about our topic. Our founding fathers gave our country an amazing gift, democracy. You know, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But lately, it's as though the people have lost interest. Funny thing though, a democracy loves company and loves activity. And if you leave your democracy alone too long, it will leave you. So get informed and get involved, and you too can learn how to train your government. Joining me today, I have two very knowledgeable guests. Dr. James Fazzone, you are an educator, you are a former mayor, and I could go on for hours with the list. We're gonna stop at those two. And I have Terry West. You are the Director of Community Affairs for Mercer County, New Jersey.
I am.
And you're also very involved in political campaigns. So for this topic today, this is gonna come in really, really handy. So as we're starting to talk about politics, that's such a hot button issue right now. But one of the things that always amazes me is how so many people are still not talking about it. You know, it seems like the people who know about it and who are really involved talk about it all the time. There's still a large portion of our population that does not pay attention to what's happening. And in fact, all this rhetoric and how everything's been ramped up lately, they kind of tune out, and even more so than normal. So how do we get people more engaged in the actual political process? What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think people do talk about politics maybe a little too much, but if you want politics and government to work for you, you really need to get involved. And one way to get involved would be to run for office. There are a lot of people who are running right now for office who you see as first-timers, a lot of women running for office. And when you kind of think about it, it's really, you want to be part of the, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And running for office is not all that hard. You can run for a local board of education. You can run for council. There are a lot of boards that you can sit on. And I just believe that the overlooked elephant in the room is that, hey, we can all run for office. That's what's great about our country.
Well, and I think sometimes people don't feel that the average everyday person who doesn't have connections or doesn't have a lot of financially well-off friends and that kind of circle, I think people almost feel that it's not for them. So I love the fact that you're telling people this is for everybody. It's, you know, of the people, for the people, and by the people. We are the people. You deal with campaigns. You work on the ground on campaigns, especially local ones. How do you get these, you know, candidates to really put themselves out there? It's got to be very nerve-wracking for them.
Well, initially, they express interest for those that want to run, and they express interest that they want to run for office. However, I start with telling them they should attend their local council meeting because they need to understand the mechanics of what that position will entail, because generally most candidates start from council and move their way up, unless you're appointed to a school board or a zoning board, school board, or any other. It's good to know the mechanics, and then once you're there, usually a municipality has the guidelines as you get closer to election. So you'll need to get petition signatures in order to get on the ballot. And if you're a partisan race, then you probably need to approach your political party, or one of the probably two political parties that are going to be the deciding factor during the primary, and you want to make your pitch and see if the local chair is interested in taking you on and helping you elevate up to a position. So there's some just basics. And then there's always grassroots. Grassroots are really organizing people around the issues that matter. So you can start with, I don't have a one-way sign on my street. What do I do?
Something that simple, right?
You rally. Yeah, you rally the people around something and their small achievements, and they look at you as with your leadership.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think sometimes people almost trust the grassroots efforts a little bit more because it's about an issue or it's about certain things, as opposed to sometimes thinking people just want a position or want the power. Because I notice when I talk to a lot of people in preparation for this, a lot of times people don't believe that the people who are running are prepared to run, that they haven't done their homework, like you suggested, that they just kind of say, you know what, you're caught up in the moment and this big wave of interest and enthusiasm, and I want to do it. So I love that you're saying people really need to prepare themselves. How is it for you? You were the mayor of a city in Burlington, and you know, what made you do that? That's a big thing.
Well, I get. Someone told me one time, you don't find the mayor's job finds you.
And it found you. You weren't hiding well enough, right?
I wasn't hiding well enough, and council as well. And I think something that Terry said was important, that people may not know, may not feel comfortable with their background, but I think it's important to know that be okay with trying your best and then making a mistake. You mentioned the one-way street. People came to me, it was my street, I wanted to have a one-way street, so I approached county. Well, when you're the mayor, you can kind of initiate these these new projects, and so we ended up with a one-way street. Now, I've been driving down that street the same way for about 30 years, so a lot of my constituents who were more on the opponent side were taking pictures. I drove down at least 7 times the wrong way on that one-way street because I had been doing it for 30 years, and they were just so excited to tell everyone that I did that. But it's okay to not know. But I think if in your heart you have some things you would like to see take place, if you want to be. If you don't like the decisions that are being made, I think it's important, it's certainly an option to put yourself in a position to make those decisions that you think might be best for your city, your town, state, however far you want to take it.
So now, Terry, talk to me about, I always hear the Go TV, which I thought was a channel, and it turned out it was Get Out the Vote. And I learned a lot about that from you. So talk to me about Get Out the Vote, because that's really when you're on the ground, right? And you're just out there connecting.
And you know this too, from on the weekend. So this Get Out the Vote is a GOTV, and it usually occurs the weekend before the election. And you man an entire operation where you have a full canvas that goes out and knocks on doors, reminding people that the following Tuesday is Election Day. You also want to know if they're going to be supporting your candidate. Would be nice to know if you can get that information from them, and a commitment that they're going to vote. On top of that, you're on the phones, you're calling constituents, you're reminding them that Tuesday is Election Day, and you're doing everything possible to not only inform the voter, but to inform the voter that your candidate is the best person to be elected on that day. It's a huge operation, and it takes lots of preparation going into it, and then in itself occurs. So it's generally the Saturday, sometimes the Sunday. Monday is useful because it's the day before Election Day to remind people, and then on the day of to go and knock on the door to say, did you vote today? Because polls close at 8, and if you would like a ride, we're happy to give you a ride. Anything to get people engaged. But more engaged than so much you want your candidate elected, but more engaged. be engaged. It's important.
Yeah, you know, you always hear, I remember years ago when they used to say, you know, rock the vote and get kids out, you know, the young people, we need you to vote, we need you to vote. And I always feel like maybe we fell a little short on that, because we also want them not just to vote on that one day and pull the lever and like a groundhog pop back up in a few years. We want them to continue to be engaged and to even know before they pull that lever, why are they pulling it? Do they know the issues? Do they know where people stand? Because even if you just go by political party, you have to make sure that the party hasn't shifted on different issues where you're still thinking they are where they were a long time ago. How do you get, as a candidate, how do you get people engaged to listen, to trust what you're saying?
Well, I think you want to hear from them what they want. I remember in a...
Oh, you mean listening?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And in a recent election, when people were surprised by who won, they asked, seemed like an elder statesman from the party, as the election just changed, and people saw there was who the winner was. They asked this elder statesman, says, "Well, what, did you not get your message out? Is that the problem?" He says, "No." He says, "We didn't listen. We weren't listening to the people. They were trying to tell us things, and we just weren't listening, and that was the problem."
You know, I was doing a Nikki Fifth book, and I had Governor Brendan Byrne, who was our former governor. I had him in the book because he was a big proponent for the environment, and he preserved 1 million acres. So I went out to lunch to interview him for the book, and he told me a story, and his son actually mentioned it, where when he was living in the governor's mansion and there was no fence, it was just people could walk up, and he said they looked out the window one night and there were people with like pitchforks and fire, and you know, they had torches in their hands, and he said, "What's going on here?" And they were going to call the state police, and the governor said, "No, let's go out and ask them what's wrong." And he sat outside and he talked to them, and they expressed what was on their mind, and he explained why certain things were done, and they all left peacefully, shook hands, and that was the end of it. And it was like, you can just talk to each other, and you can just listen. Do you see that with the candidates who are new to the process, or do they get that listening is probably the key thing to connecting with the constituents?
I think so. I think some of our younger, newer candidates, and certainly the women that are out there, and I think they understand that. I think they come from a grassroots background, and I think that part of that is sharing a message and being able to work together in order to cultivate a stronger message across racial lines, across gender, across whatever they are. And I do see that, but I understand what you're saying, Mayor, when you say that too often candidates also want to feed information, and constituents aren't listening to that. That's not what they're hearing, and they'll vote accordingly. I think we saw that in some of our recent elections.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not hearing that.
And what I would have hoped when I saw the people with the pitchforks and the torches was that
it might have just been torches. Now
yeah,
that I think
yeah,
about it,
I'm sure.
Maybe that's how I imagined it.
Yeah, maybe. And I would have hoped that they wanted to tell me there was a sale at Home Depot on pitchforks and torches.
Look what I got.
They were so excited as a friend to tell me about that. That would be the optimistic approach. But usually people with pitchforks and torches have some things they'd like to discuss.
Yeah, and they're probably pretty serious about that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Technology is to a point where it's never been before, and it just keeps exploding exponentially. So these generations that we have now and the next future ones, they have instant access to information. So they should be the most knowledgeable, the most well-informed people to ever walk the face of the earth. But we're finding, and I read some studies where they're almost less tuned in, even though they have that capability. Is it up to the candidates to figure out a way to tap into the platforms that young people are on and to reach them that way? I mean, is that on the candidates right now to do that?
Yeah, I think with that technology, and we've always had some type of technology for communication, and
rotary phones and
exactly, but technology can be great for intelligent dialogue, and but in the old days we used to also write terrible things on the bathroom wall. So any of the technology that we use can be still used for those kinds of extremes, and then anything, I guess, in between. But it's a great vehicle for intelligent dialogue. It can also be a great vehicle for negative things.
Yeah, this is true. You know what? We're going to take a break. We are going to take a break, and we will be right back talking more about how to train your government or become a better constituent. We'll be right back.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm here with Terry West and Dr. James Fazzone, and we are talking about how to train your government. And we were just talking about social media and how it can be a really positive tool, or it could also be a negative tool. When you're running campaigns, do you come across that where sometimes the negativity, false information about candidates or things that are off topic and off the issues, is that coming up now?
It is, and there's a lot of, I guess, false information out there or a hearsay that spreads really quickly. For the most part, I think all candidates tend to bring on somebody who is good at social media for them, whether they're quickly using simultaneously Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all at once, and they're very good at that. And then there's targeting ads or ad targets that you can put out in your general area. And they know how to target ads according to specific demographics. So usually a social media person is always good for that. Going back to what you said, there was a time when they called it new media back in 2009 because of Obama and 2008. So if anyone's watching and you remember that, there was a time when they called it new media. Now it's...
I don't think the kids call it that anymore.
No, I don't think anyone does. I think we all understand it's social media, but now it's just such an integral part of a campaign that many campaigns are actually run strictly on it.
Yeah, and I would imagine though one of the things you have to navigate, you can't as a candidate control what your supporters put out there. So I know just with recent elections that I was following, you would see people comment and say really negative things about a candidate and personal things. And it wasn't either of the candidates doing it, it was their supporters. So that has to add another element of, something that could reflect really poorly and impact how people perceive somebody, even if they had nothing to do with it. You taught in high school, you've been around campaigns yourself. Do you see this kind of thing where sometimes the supporters can make that impact?
Right, and I not only your supporters and your, I think one thing that we need to focus on is the issues, because people will jump on an issue that's important to them. We go back to the listening. If I'm getting ready to put something on social, there's a reason I was motivated to put it there. And is it always whether you like or dislike a candidate? I think there's a lot of motivation there. But typically the candidate is tied to issues that I would think are important to the voters. And so we want to make sure we're addressing those and listening and putting out a platform that people can understand and get behind.
So I wrote a book that came out in November. It's a Nikki Fifth spin-off book from the series, and it's called How to Train Your Government. And the reason I wrote this book was I wanted to introduce children, and even through the children, a lot of parents who aren't aware of how government works. Because I feel like, you train your government by becoming a really great active constituent. That's kind of how it all works. And people get really mad at politicians, and they, say a lot of awful things, and they say all the things that haven't gotten done, but then if you say, how many meetings did you go to? How many letters did you write? How many phone calls did you make? They're not mind readers. And if people aren't participating in a democracy, that's a glitch. So I did this, and one of the things I wanted my readers to know were different levels of government, because I think sometimes people don't even understand what a governor can do, what a mayor can do, what a state senator as opposed to a federal senator, what everybody can do. Do you think that's part of the problem, that we need to make sure, because they're not really getting it in elementary school now? So do we as a society have to make sure people know how our government works so that they can participate?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's important for everyone to know that you can go to the office of your senator, you can go to the office of the mayor, you can go to the, probably not going to let you into the White House at this point, but most of the local and county and state governments are accessible, and you can go to the meetings, and there's always a time for public comment, and you can go to the microphone and you can express what you're saying. I heard a senator years ago say that a person brought something up and they said, well, that hasn't really been getting that much attention recently, but thank you for bringing it up. But it's those items that get a lot of attention. I can tell you from sitting behind the dais and listening to people, it is it has an impact when people come to the microphone and they say things to you. Being that everyone is human, you have to have some. No one's so cold that they would ignore what people are saying, pro and con.
Do you feel the same way about that?
I do, actually. I was thinking earlier today before the show that a good exercise, I think, for a parent is to ask a child specifically what would be, what's of interest, what would you like to see change, and then help encourage that child to rally the neighbors behind it with a petition, take it before your council, actually learn your message, practice it, understand your
message. And those are such
message.
practical skills. I mean,
Right.
I think most adults would be hesitant to start a project. If there was something in the neighborhood they wanted to fix, I think people are a little reticent to do that. But if you've been trained as a child to use your voice and get out there, and I love those ideas, like pick your issue, talk to your neighbors, get signatures, go to a meeting.
Go to a council meeting and use the public session to express that to them. They'll be incredibly impressed.
Absolutely.
And I think your child will be so excited by the response that he gets or she gets that I imagine they'll want to go further. They could take it to their county government, eventually to their legislator. It's a great practice. I think it's really a good skill set to learn.
And there are a lot of issues that impact children. I remember there was a discussion of whether we would put a soccer field down by the river, which ended up going through by like one vote. But a lot of children came to the microphone.
Did they?
And and they were expressing why they wanted to play soccer. It was also for field hockey. And it was really kind of lopsided. For some reason, people didn't seem to like the idea of a soccer field down at the river. But with the children coming out, it passed narrowly. And even some people said, the children are the only people that have made sense around here for a while, which I think there was some truth to that.
Yeah.
I kind of believe that. I mean, their passion is so honest and it's so pure. They just want a soccer field. They're not looking to get a kickback, or they're not looking for a future long-term partnership. I just want to play soccer by the river.
Exactly.
So it's very simple, and I think if we simplify politics and government and civics, people hear those words, and I can't tell you how many times I try to engage somebody in a conversation, and they're like, oh, I don't talk politics. And I think, oh, that's terrible, because we should all learn how to respectfully engage in a conversation. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, Libertarian, Independent. You should be able to just talk and hear somebody's point of view respectfully. I think that's the best example for kids, not you walk in a restaurant and it says, no religion, no politics. And I think more wars are started over religion and politics than anything. Maybe we need to start learning how to talk about them.
Tip O'Neill had a great quote. He said that politics is an energetic clash of conflicting ideas. And it's probably really nothing more or less than that, but that's kind of what it is, and that can be a good thing.
Yeah, and I always told my kids, you have to, some of the things that I teach in the book for my readers, you have to not just listen to one side. You have to listen to all sides. You have to consider the source. You have to, evaluate. Does this even make sense? And are there other, sources that can back up whatever you've just read? So one of the things I did, I was looking up some of the statistics. Is it really hard to get people to come out for a local election? Because national elections in 2008, presidential election, 64% of registered voters voted. In 2016, it did drop to 58% of registered voters for the presidential election. Midterms, in 2014, we hit a 72-year low for 36%. And then local elections, there was just a local mayor's race where I believe it was 22% of registered voters. How do we get people to understand? Because for their daily life, isn't local politics really important?
It is. It is. It's the thing that that will help provide the better services that they need, or the increase education funding, or any of the things that can help them, that actually would help them those voters on a local level. So it's really unfortunate when they don't get out to vote on a local level. It's really important.
Yeah, I would say that based on my thought process and experience, that there are two things that get the local voters out. One would be some hot button issues that impact them, and number two, that they feel that their vote can make a difference. And I think if there's a message we really should have for your viewers is that your vote does make a difference. There are a lot of elections that are won by 1, 2, 3 votes, and they recount them, and it's still 1, 2, or 3 votes. And if they had put maybe a few more people in the car, it could have tipped them in for the candidate that they like, or maintain for the candidate that they don't like. So getting out to vote is huge.
All right, so your vote counts. And are you guys ready to play Brainstorm?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, Jim, I know you're an old pro at this.
No, I'm not. I'm an old pro at missing that basket is what I am.
I need a bigger bag. I'm going to put like a barrel here for Jim.
know.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're in the tradition of brainstorming. We will examine 8 ideas. If they're true, if they're good, we keep them. And if they're not, like a brainstorming session, we ball them up and throw them out.
Okay.
Idea 1, democracy works best when we all participate.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
We
you're
like
off the
that. We
hook
like
on that
that.
one, fellas. Idea 2, local government is less important than state and federal government.
False.
Yes, they're all.
I get
Give
to
you
do
the
that.
I'll even give you a tilt there in lieu of a backboard. You might not even needed that. Idea 3, voting is more important than being informed.
Both are important.
So let's ball
So
that
say
up.
that.
Yeah, we need them to do both.
Yeah.
Be informed and vote.
then vote based on being informed.
You've been
You
practicing.
did well.
Idea 4, discussing politics respectfully can eliminate misunderstandings.
Yes.
Okay. 5, multiple sources of information are most effective.
Sure.
Okay. 6, parents should not talk to kids about voting until they are 18 years old.
No.
That's the last thing we need right now.
No, they should.
There we go. You guys are on fire here. Number 7, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, and number 8, the best way to train a government is to be an active constituent.
Yes, we like that one.
All right, and I hope that I hope kids. I know there's a lot of venom out there right now regarding politics, but I hope kids see that this is politics in action. And sometimes it's difficult and challenging, but they need to really become a part of it. And hopefully, their parents will do the things that you suggested. That they'll bring them to meetings, and that they'll talk about issues, and let the kids have use their voice, find it, and then use it. You have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I just thought it was a great show.
Well, it always is. You guys, I have
terrific.
the best guests, the most knowledgeable guests. So I want to thank Terry West, Dr. James Fazzone. Again, I loved having all your input here. And everybody who's watching, next election, get informed and then go out and vote. Thanks for watching Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Willever. We'll see you next time.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean.